Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. September, can you believe it? We're 3/4 of the way through the year. It's absolutely flying by. This month I've been using pens between 1 and 200 Australian dollars. What we're going to do now is I'll take you through these 6 pens and I'm going to rank them from the order of the one that I least preferred through to the one that I most preferred. And let me tell you, it's been so difficult this month, it really has, because I've enjoyed all the pens. But I say that most months, I just love writing with my pens. So join me, down on the mat, let's jump straight in. So here we are, down on the mat. As we can see here, I've got my list of pens that I've been using this month. I'll just move it up so you can see we've got the whole list there. Let's come back down. So pens in use for September of 2021, pens between 100 and 200 Australian dollars. So let's jump in. As I said in the intro, it's been really difficult this month because I've enjoyed all of the pens. And one of the things that I've discovered is as I've been doing this, the more expensive the pen, I'm going to be honest, it seems to give a better experience. So that's why I've grouped these into these ranges. I have to give them a ranking though, so I've got to be really picky. Position number 6 this month goes to this one. This is the Laban 325. I love the colour of this pen. Just look at that. I'm just going to slowly turn it around. It looks so attractive. It feels nice in the hand. If I take this off, you don't need to post it. It feels really nice when you're using it. I love the pen, but the problem that I had was it would hard start if it was left for more than a couple of days between uses. Then what I'd have to do, in some cases, I'd have to literally write about 2 sentences of really horrible, bitty letters before it would start writing properly for me. And that isn't what I want from a pen. I want to have a pen that after a couple of days, if I pick it up, it'll start writing straight away. If I'd left it 2 months, I could understand it. But nah, it just wasn't really that feeling that I wanted. Let me fetch in my Tomoe River paper. This is 52 GSM paper. We can see here the actual writing when it's there. It writes really well. Got some gorgeous shading coming through. I don't know if that's a property of the ink or the pen or the combination, but I do find that diamine ochre does shade very well regardless of what pen I put it in. It's really nice. But can we see here on the T for those, it hasn't written anything. And I was getting quite a bit of this. Not as much as I get with some of my cheaper pens, but it's still there. And since I'm ranking these against each other, it's got to count into the rankings. So unfortunately, that means this pen comes in at position number 6. So that's the Laban 325. So position number 5, that goes to this. This is the TWSBI VAC 700R Iris. This has got a broad nib. It's a gorgeous pen. It looks so nice. I'm going to again have to take off the cap for this. Show you the nib. To me, this is one of the prettiest nibs I've got. Just look at that. You've got blues, you've got pinks, you've got yellow and gold. All sorts of colours coming out. It's a really wet writer. And the ink in it, because it's that vacuum filler, the ink just lasts and lasts and lasts. I mean, this made it virtually to the end of the month on one fill. And that's using it multiple times a week. It really is. It's a joy to write with as well. I enjoy writing with it. But there's obviously some downsides. Now, the main thing with this is actually the ink. If I just move this paper up here, there we go. You can see it's a very pink ink. Now, I put that in because my stepdaughter actually said to me that she dared me to put a pink ink into a pen and use it, which is what I did. Fortunately, it's just not for me. It's a nice colour, but for a month's worth of writing, it was just too much. It's one of those inks where it'd be handy for making little notes, just occasional use, not constant use. So as a result, I've had to knock it down, and that means it goes for position number 5. Let me fetch in that Tomoe River paper. I'm trying to make sure that I write on Tomoe River paper for each of them because that gives us an idea to see, again, on a different type of paper other than the little bit of writing that I do in my Oxford notebook. But yeah, as you see here, again, we've got some nice bits of shading coming through. It's really pretty to look at, just too much for me. That's the only downside. The other thing with the VAC 700R is remembering to operate this shut-off valve at the bottom, and I'm forever doing that. There, I've just pulled it up, but if I screw that down, you can see it going down, and then if I release it again, it comes up. This shuts the main ink off in the body from the section. Trouble is, you have to remember to open it, otherwise, after a little bit of writing, you run out of ink. Still, nice pen. I really do like the pen. It's really smooth, it's really nice, and it performs really, really well. But again, I have to rank these. So, position number 5. So my next pen, coming in at position number 4, goes to my big boy, the Ranga Model 5. This is a really big pen. I mean, just look at the size of that. This is a B5 notepad, and it takes up the whole width. If I take off the cap is actually very big, but it's still a big pen in the hand. And I will be honest, I actually like that. I like these larger pens where you can really feel that you've got them. You know, some of the pens which I've got, they only come to the top of my hand and they're really uncomfortable then. Whereas this, nice, easy writer, nice and smooth. The pen is a resin pen. It's gorgeous to look at. Again, I know I keep moving these around. I love the colours on this. Now, somebody has suggested a teal ink, and I think I'm definitely going to give that a try, because up till now, I've mainly been using greens, but looking at it, yeah, I can see where that teal colour could come in. Lovely pen. I've got a cartridge converter in there at the moment. This pen can very easily be eyedroppered, but I've never done that because I worry if I do, well, I'll fill the pen up with ink, then it might end up writing for a year because it just lasts and lasts and lasts. It's a really good pen with ink. The colour of the ink I really like. Let me fetch in that Tomoe River paper. You know, again, it's a nice shading ink. It's a nice coloured ink. I love greens. This is where I'm going to fetch that in again. You can see where the green is a bit bright for the greens in the pen. I know I'm not going for these matchy type colours, but it's still nice to have something which honours the spirit of the colour. That's again why I thought about. That's again why I love the idea of going for a teal ink. I love this combo. So why is it in at position number 4? Because everything I'm saying is so positive. Well, there is a negative to it. This has got a Ranga broad nib, and I find this nib extremely stiff. Not uncomfortable, but still not as pleasant as some of the other pens that I've got in this month's selection. So because I'm being really picky, I had to knock it down. And that was the reason. It's purely because of the nib. But isn't really all the pen. It's there as a nib holder. So if the nib isn't nice, the whole writing experience, well, it's just not nice. And that's what I was finding with this. So our Ranga Model 5 comes in at position number 4. Just going to straighten the notebook up slightly. I seem to have gone all wonky. So position number 3 this month goes to this one. This is an Opus 88 Koloro. Love the colours of this. It's blue. I know it's different because of the blues, but then we've got this teal colour in the transparent part of it. It's a really nice pen. Unlike the others, this one is eyedropper full only. It takes a lot of ink. Now in here I had Troublemaker Opon Channel Blue. This is actually the teal ink that's one recommended for the Ranga, but I used it all on this pen. It's similar to the TWSBI in that it's got this shut-off valve. So again, it's one where I had to make sure that I opened and closed it when I was using the pen. I did have some writing issues with this pen, mainly on Clairefontaine and Tomoe River paper, where I had little bits of skipping, but as the month went on, I was working on the nib with micromesh and slowly getting rid of what I think was a little bit of baby's bottom on there. So by the time we got to the end of the month, it was really writing quite nicely. Let me fetch in that Tomoe River paper. Little bit of shading in here. I don't see as much as some of my other colours. You know, I've called out here about the skipping. And, you know, the micromeshing, that certainly did work. The ink colour, absolutely glorious. I'm really finding I'm liking teal colours, even more than green. And I suppose teal is like a bluey green, so possibly that'll be why, because it's darker. And I do think it gives a little bit more character than some of the lighter, brighter green inks. My only problem, I don't know if you can see here at the bottom, I do keep forgetting to unscrew that shut-off valve. So with all that in mind, this pen comes in at position number 3. So we have 2 pens left. They're both actually at the bottom of my list. Let me move this up so we can get them nicely into the shot. So we've got the Visconti Breeze and we've got the Narwhal Schuylkill. So at position number 2, it goes to the Narwhal Schuylkill. There we go. This pen though isn't with the nib that it came with. In here, I've got a Pen Chalet nib. It's in medium. I believe it's a Joe O nib. I got that because when I bought this pen, I bought it with a flex nib. And I really just did not get on with the flex nib. I struggled with any writing. Let's take a closer look at this. This is the Paul Peter navy colour. Just look at that. It's absolutely gorgeous. So you've got blues in there. You've got browns. You've got golds. You've got bronze. You've got a bit of orange. A little bit of yellow. All sorts of colours in there. It's really nice. I also like the ink window. This meant I was able to easily see really how much ink was left in, so I knew when it was running low. Really nice. Now at the start of the month I had Diamine Orange Blaze in it. Let me just fetch in my notepad. Here we go. To me, I'm not sure that this was the right colour. Why it had this colour in is when I had the flex in, this is one of the inks that I had in with the flex, and so I just changed the nib rather than changing the whole thing. Not sure if it was right, as I say. To me, I don't know, I think I need it into a broader nib to get some real value for this ink. But that's just my personal view. Remember, as with everything to do with pens, it's so subjective about how we feel about them. So partway through the month, I changed the ink. And what I did is I changed it for Diamine Acid Blue. Now I love it. Really nice. I think the blue is a gorgeous blue. There's a little bit of shading. I'd love to have seen more of that shading, but I'm not going to complain because the bits that are there, it's really nice. My one concern with this blue, it's more of that, I'm going to call it a boring blue because it's like you expect to see coming out of a big pen. That's what it reminds me of. But it's still nice. It's still enjoyable. The nib on this pen is slightly stiff. Not as bad as the Ranga, but you can still see that, but you can still feel that hardness to it. Now, as I use this pen more, that may soften up a bit. You know, I've only had the nib in here for just over a month, so it's still a very new nib. In terms of match, now we've got the blue in there. I think it's a really good colour match. I may be able to go slightly lighter, but I'm not sure. Maybe even into a turquoise ink. I'll look at that though in a future combination. But really nice, enjoyed it. I'm glad that I changed the nib, but that means that this comes in at position number 2. So what does this mean? Well, it means there's only one pen left. So position number 1 goes to the Visconti Breeze. This is a steel nibbed Visconti. Again, let's look at the colouring on this. Really nice. It's called Bilberry. That to me is a darker blue than this, but I'm not going to argue about names. It's a pull-off cap, but it's a magnetic mechanism. So as I put the cap on, you can see it gets to about virtually closed, then it'll snap from the magnet. Really clever mechanism. The ink that I had in here was a really gorgeous turquoise. It was Noodler's Navajo turquoise. Let me just fetch in that Tomoe River paper. Here we can see the ink coming out of this pen. So nice, loads of shading. See, absolutely massive it in here. The nib, it's very, very smooth. It's such a gorgeous experience. Not quite like writing on glass, but it's getting really close to that. When I use this pen on cheaper paper, and I do have some really cheap paper, like $2 for a pad, it still feels nice. It's still smooth. Whereas some of my other pens on the cheaper paper, you could really feel the difference. It felt really, really bad. I've got a notebook by Otto. This is where this pen, it would bleed right the way through. I would get masses of show through. In fact, it was so bad sometimes that when I was using that orange ink, you just could not read the orange ink for the show through of the blue. So it's a really gushing pen as well. It sits nice in my hand. There we go, if I show you. It's not too small, not too large. If I was going to complain, I would say I would have liked to have seen it just a little bit wider. It's a little bit on the narrow side for me, but not enough to spoil the writing experience. But all in all, absolutely love this pen, and that's why it comes in at position number 1. So let me just clear this off. I'll fetch all the pens back in and we'll take one final look at them. So here we are with my final ranked pens from September of 2021. We've got the Laban 325, the TWSBI VAC 700R in Iris, the Ranga Model 5, which is so big it doesn't even fit in the tray, an Opus 88 Koloro, a Narwhal Schuylkill with a Pen Chalet medium nib, and the top pen for the month, a Visconti Breeze. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What do you think of these pens? What do you think your ranking would be? Is it going to be any different than what I've come up with? Please drop a comment down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time someone comments, every time someone likes, just helps with the YouTube algorithm to surface my content for other people. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.